Find your way to a comfortable seat. Sometimes that means sitting on something, elevating your hips. Just whatever you've got around. So in addition to the normal things that we use for our home restorative practice, so some books, blankets, towels, pillows, whatever you've got handy. Maybe also grab, we're going to do a little facial massage for ourselves today. So grab an oil or a lotion or moisturizer, something that you would be comfortable putting on your face. So if you want to do that now, so you don't have to do it later, when you're nice and relaxed, that'd be great. All right, so finding that comfortable seat, sitting up tall, noticing the parts of your body that are touching the earth, pressing into the ground, lengthening the spine, finding a comfortable place for your hands, maybe palms up, and then close your eyes and just spend a few moments seeing how you feel, what's happening in your interior landscape. So as you explore, some landmarks you might visit are your breath, sensations in the body, and then even checking in with what your mind is up to. Sometimes we try to ignore our minds when we meditate, and I find that it actually works better if you give the mind a little attention in the beginning and just see what it has to say. So thoughts, emotions, what mood might be underneath the surface. Notice those now. Give them a little acknowledgement. Sorry. I have my eyes closed and I open them and Zach's on the camera. Of course, rascal. Okay. So it's a dreary day today, so I've picked some things that are a little bit more uplifting for us to do tonight. Restorative is usually about relaxing, but there are some things that we can do to kind of help elevate our moods even while we're sort of in these reclining positions where we're not moving all that much. So the first one is a little breathing exercise of breath retention. So let's inhale through the nose. Those nice full lungs, holding the breath for 3, 2, 1, and then a big sighing exhale. Out the mouth. Inhale, back through the nose. Holding and releasing. A few more, and don't be afraid to let the whole body kind of get into it. Puffing yourself up big and tall when you hold, and then letting it all shake out when you release. Back and forth. Hold, and let it go. How about one more? Okay, let's move a little bit. I'm going to change the position of my legs so that my feet are on the floor, hands are on the knees, sitting up nice and tall, and this is how I'm going to cat-cow my spine. So rounding the back, dropping the chin toward the chest, and then bringing the chest forward, looking up, back and forth. One more. All right. And then return to your cross-legged position. Maybe put the other leg on top or in front, however you were sitting. Let's twist a little bit. Inhale, take the arms up overhead. Exhale, reach across the body. My right hand's going to my left knee to start with. Long spine. Back and forth a couple of times. And release. Let's open up the side body some. Exhale, left hand on the mat. Reach up and over with the right. All right, let's let it go. So go ahead and grab your oil, your lotion, whatever you've got handy. You can do this without any sort of lotion too. I just find that it's a little bit nicer when you do it with something that makes your fingers a little slippery. So go ahead and get some on your hands, warm it up. Oh yeah, I forgot the pump bottle on this doesn't work. Let's see. Let me get some on my hand. There we go. Warm it up, rub your hands together. So, taking your peace fingers, zipping them together, you're going to press in the third eye space here in the middle of your brows and just give that a little gentle pressure. And then slowly drag your fingers along your brow line till you get out to those pressure points in your temples, and give that a little circular flourish one way. Kind of notice which direction you're going so we can switch it up here next. Okay, back to the center. Drag it on out. And then when you get out there to the temples, take it the other way. So take your fingers and turn them into like little lobster pinchers instead. Pinch here in close, the top of your nose, and then maybe half an inch out along the brow line. And try it again. Come in close near the bridge and pinch your way out. Okay, take those same pinchers, pinch all over your ears, doesn't matter where, what pattern, just pinching everywhere. Okay, and then so take the peace fingers again, but turn them into just the knuckles. You're gonna place them underneath the muscles in your cheeks right here, and then press up. You can also do this just with the fingertips too, that also works. If you carry tension here, you'll really notice it. If you don't, you'll be like, what does this stretch do? Or what does this do? So just noticing that about yourself, whether you're a tight jaw person. You can move it over a little bit, see if you can find another place. Maybe a little bit further away from your nose. All right. And then, so those same peace fingers here on the outside of the nose, like where your smile lines are, drag down a couple of times. Go ahead and loosen your jaw, move it around a little bit. And then we'll go back to the lobster pincher fingers. Pinch along your jawline. All right, last one. Make your fingers really loose and then just simply let your fingertips rake gently over your face and neck. Just explore, see what feels good. So let's come on down to our backs up against the wall. For our first move, we're going to cat-cow at the wall. So you'll be about maybe a foot or two away from the wall with your feet on the wall and your back on the ground. Your knees want to be right above your hips. So I'm going to kind of guesstimate and then scooch myself into place. I'm stopping when my knees get right above my hips, feet press into the wall. And this won't look like much from the outside, but it should feel nice on your back. So pressing the low back into the floor or the mat. And then lifting the back up off the ground, arching your belly up toward the sky. Exhale into that cat where you're pressing into the floor. Inhale into the cow. A few more times. All right. So if you have a book or a couple of books handy, then you can go ahead and grab them. You don't have to move. I'm going to come back up and reposition myself so you can see better what I'm up to. So we're going to take a supported bridge, a little bit of a mild back bend. So I'm going to grab a couple of books. You could also do this with pillows, kind of a more pleasant way to do it anyway. Just whatever you got handy. Lying on your back, knees bent, press the feet into the mat, and then slide your props underneath the backside of your pelvis, your sacrum. Find a comfortable spot. Shouldn't feel bad. If it does, move it up or down until you get a nice sweet spot. And then allow the books or your props to support your weight. We'll spend a few moments here. Just spend a little time settling in. This is our first little bit of silence of the evening. So if your mind starts to wander now or any other time during the practice, something you can do is return to some of those anchors that we explored in the beginning, either watching your body, watching your breath, or watching your mind, sort of from a neutral observation type stance with curiosity. Seeing what you can observe about the present moment. And then anytime your mind wanders, be very gentle about redirecting yourself back to the present. Instead of scolding or reprimanding, instead try to take that as your golden opportunity where the magic happens when you notice and remember to stay present. So up next on the agenda is an even bigger back bend. So if you don't think that you can go there, if this is the biggest back bend that you think your body is comfortable with, then just stay here. If you're ready to move on and try something else, press into your feet, remove those props, come down to a neutral spine for a breath or two, see how that feels. And when you're ready, roll to one side and meet me up in a seat. So we're going to do what in class I usually call our crisscross back bends, where we usually put the two bolsters on top of each other. So if you have two bolsters, if you have a little bolster and a big bolster, you can just make a cross shape out of them. I'm going to engineer that setup since I don't have that stuff here at home. So I'm going to roll up a towel or a blanket here in the middle. I kind of want that roll to be even bigger, so I'm going to add another blanket to it. Okay. And then I'm going to put a big pillow on top of it, making this cross shape or kind of like a teeter-totter. And then I'm going to have another pillow up at the top of the mat just in case my neck ends up in an uncomfortable position. You might have that there too, just in case. So turning around. Actually, I would think I'm going to use one of these pillows. I bet that'll be just the right height. Okay. So turning around, coming with your bottom to the base of your teeter-totter ramp here. Feet on the mat. You're going to have to kind of launch yourself onto it a little bit. We're aiming to end up with that roll kind of in the middle back, so kind of scoot yourself. Hang on to your shirt so you don't end up choking yourself. Alright, and then make sure your head's comfortable. Just as I suspected, that pillow is just the right height for me, something pretty shallow. And then we're going to spend at least 10 breaths here in this position number 1 with the knees bent, just to see if we can get used to this position and see if our back kind of eases into it. So let's stay here. Just breathing. So if everything feels fine, maybe try to extend the legs. You can do it slowly, kind of one at a time. And of course you don't have to. You can stay there in that bent leg position. Or if you get out into the extended leg version, if you just don't like it, if it puts pressure into weird places, and go back to that bent leg version. So once you find your comfortable version of the pose, I think I'm actually going to go back to feet on the floor tonight. Once you find the comfortable version, your only job here is to see how heavy you can be, how much you can allow the body to just be supported by the props and the floor, how much you can, by small degrees, just degree by degree, how much you can surrender to gravity. So we're coming up on our last few breaths here. So wherever you're at, go ahead and bring the feet back to the mat with the knees bent, and then start to think about the safest way for you to get out of this pose. So I usually kind of tend to shimmy my way out in the reverse of how I got in. You could also, if it's possible, to lift your hips and remove some of the props and come down to more of a neutral spine. You can try that, or if you think the best idea is to roll over to one side and come off that way, you could do that. So here I go with the shimmy version, dragging myself back until my bottom's on the mat. And then I think I'm going to roll over to do the rest of the way, using my hands to press myself back up to a seat. So next up on the agenda, we're going to neutralize the spine after all of that with legs up the wall. So sometimes it feels nice to have some support underneath your hips and legs up the wall, or something heavy on your feet. If you want any of that kind of action, go ahead and take it with you. Or if your legs tend to get cold when you go in the wall, take a blanket with you. I think that's what I'm going to do tonight. So scooching in close so that you got one hip and the shoulder really close to the wall. Lie back, let your legs swing up overhead. You can shimmy a little closer to the wall if that makes you feel a little bit more supported, and then simply extend the legs up toward the sky. If you want to slide something underneath your hips, then put the feet on the wall, press through, slide your props under, and then replace your hips on the floor. And then you can do whatever you want to with the arms. You can cactus them. You can leave them resting on the belly. You can put them somewhere in the middle. Just play around and find something that feels right. So if you want to burrito up the legs with something nice and warm, like I'm going to do, toss it up there. So what I always find is a nice touch is if you wrap it around behind so that it feels nice and secure and burritoed up, and then replace your heels on the wall. Okay. Settle your way in. So here we go. Closing your eyes. Settling into this session of legs up the wall. Imagining that starting up there by your feet, any stress that you've accumulated from the week, any sickness in the body, any illness or stress in the mind. Imagine it draining away the longer you're in this pose. So it's just slowly up there by your feet. And then it drains down through the legs and your shins. Past your knees. Past your thighs. Down there by your belly. And once it hits the floor, imagine it draining away from you, maybe a dark liquid in all directions, taking with it whatever you don't need, whatever you want to leave behind. Taking your attention back up to your feet once more. Noticing that in its place, all of that stuff that you don't need, here has come to replace it, things that you do need. So a sense of warmth and relaxation, a sense of peace, gathering in your body and your feet. Bringing a sense of ease to your legs, shins and knees. Bringing ease, warmth, a sense of wholeness to your thighs and then down into your belly. Imagine that it doesn't start or doesn't stop there, that it spreads into your whole torso. You find your heart is warm and at ease. Your right arm, right up to the tip of each finger. And the left arm from top to bottom. All your back, the low back, mid back, and upper back, all relaxed. The muscles in the face that we worked on earlier, feel any remaining tension there slide away. Take some bigger breaths. Instead of hopping straight out of the pose, let's take our time. Let's move our legs a little bit first. So maybe take the legs out to a wide V shape. Stretching in the inner thighs. You can even place your hands there for a little extra weight. You can bring the soles of the feet together and butterfly the knees away from each other. Again, pressing a little bit if you like the extra pressure. Release. So let's roll over to one side and eventually make our way on back up. How about child's pose next? Oh, that thinks up. I think like that would feel really nice. So I'm going to place a towel in the middle of the mat just for extra padding for my knees. So there are a couple of different ways that you can do this. You just want to have something sort of elevated to support your torso on. So I've been doing this with a couple of rows of books. If you have enough books or the right combination of books to have the end that's further away from you be a little bit taller, I think that's a nice touch. There we go. And then a big hearty pillow on top. If you don't have any books or blocks, you could just do 2 layers of big pillows. That would work too. And I'm getting pretty cold over here, so I'm going to cover up as well. So my knees are really wide on either side of this little ramp that I've built for myself. I'm going to scooch in. Nice long spine. Look out over your left shoulder to start with, and then halfway through I'll tell you when it's time and we'll look the other way. Play around with what feels comfortable for your hands. It might feel good to hug something. It might feel good to release and let the palms face the sky. I don't really like the sensation of pressing into the floor, but you can try that and see if it works for you. All just an exploration to find what works for your body. ahead and change your gaze so you're looking over the other shoulder. Last few breaths. And slide your hands back so they're underneath your shoulders. And then we'll press up off of the props. Okay. So next up I was thinking we would do sidelying shavasana. So I'm going to place a big hefty pillow on the left side of my mat. You might have another one handy just in case it's not enough. And then if you're feeling extra cozy, you can go ahead and set up with another set of pillows over here on the side. I think I'll do that on the other side. That just makes it to where you don't have to move as much later. Okay. And then you'll also need something up at the top for your head. I'm out of pillows. I'll take one of these. And then I even find it's really nice to have something to wrap your arms around, so I'm going to throw this blanket or this towel up here near the top as well for that purpose. Okay, so come on down to your right side. See if you can get your neck neutral, so that way it's not cocked up or headed down. I think I'm going to have to fold up this pillow in order to make that happen. Yep, perfect. There we go. So bring your stack of pillows in close. Take this left leg and let it be supported by the props. Again, we're trying to get it neutral, so I'm trying to fold things up enough to where my knee and my hip end up at pretty much the same height. There we go. I think I got it. And then again, I'm covering up because it's chilly. And I'm going to take this towel and hug it in close to my chest so that my arms feel like they're kind of grounded and have something to grasp onto and not like they're looking around for something to do. Okay. Settling in. reached the point in the practice where you don't have to move if you don't want to. And if you're ready, go ahead and roll over onto your left side and set up over there, trying to get your neck neutral and your hip and knee in line with each other, supported. And the rest of your body cozy with no distractions. don't want to move, you don't have to. But my last suggestion for the evening will be for you to roll onto your back. Maybe take one of these pillows you've had along the side and slip it behind your knees. And we'll finish off some variation of corpse pose. You can take any other little prop adjustments that'll make you feel comfortable. I'm supporting my head. If you want even more height behind the knees, you can take that. And then find a comfortable place for your arms. Resting either on the belly or near the hips or somewhere else. So while you're here, I'd like for you to draw to mind the feeling of the sun on a day that is just the perfect temperature for you. Imagine as you lie here that those rays, those warm golden bits of light are warming up your skin, traveling deep into your muscles, down into your bones. And everywhere this light travels, it brings a sense of ease, a sense of healing, a sense of peace. So maybe when I say that, you immediately have a list of different parts of the body that you say, oh, that sounds like that needs that type of TLC right now. So you can imagine directing those orbs of light to spend a little bit more time, give a little bit more attention to places in your body that need it. You can also imagine this warm healing light flooding your mind. Restoring it to a sense of evenness, balance, of ease. The power of the sun burning away anything you don't need. Restoring whatever you do. So slowly starting to move, finding some ways to stretch that feel nice, moving fingers, toes, changing the position of your arms and legs. Rolling to one side. And making your way back up to a seated position. Let's inhale together one more time. Hands to the heart.